do's and don'ts. And just so that you all know, today was the deadline to turn in papers, so pretty much everybody has. And so now we're going to let the fun begin, right? You're all going to have a good time, you know, don't be stressed. And so you're
Please don't talk it up too much. Good time.
So just, we'll turn it over to Jason, and if you have any questions for me afterwards, I'm here.
So I have eavesdropped, and I know that many of you have to go to the budget hearing for the schools, so that's at 7:30. This should only last about 45 minutes, maybe 50 minutes. But, you know, please, as we're going through, throw questions at me. If something comes up, let me know. Mainly, I'm just going to try and get the main points of the campaign finance law across to you with really two things that you really should remember, and that is, first, call us. I mean, if you have an issue, just give us a call. People from Westwood, they do call me. If we get 30, 40 calls a day, and if we get a call from you, we'll answer it, and we'll put your call into a phone log. If you give us your name, we'll put your name in there. And our director monitors it. But we get calls from Westwood from everything from as simple as how much money can I take from an individual in a year to, you know, can a union donate to my campaign, which gets a little bit more complicated. So please feel free to call. Also, my boss likes to say this and asked me to say it as well. He hopes that he never sees your name and his name in the same news story because it's never good. If your local paper's calling our office, it's probably because someone filed a complaint, or maybe your cousin who works for the DPW posted something on Facebook that he shouldn't have, or something like that. So please just give us a call if something comes up, and we'll work it out with you. Just a little bit about OCPF. We're a very small agency. We just had a meeting, actually, with the general counsel at the Senate, and when we told her our budget number, 1.4 million, she's like, wow, that's a rounding error in the AG's office. We're a very small agency. I think we're the smallest agency in the state. We have 17 people, and we're mostly an auditing agency. We have a team of auditors there who go through the thousands of reports that are filed with us. More than 20,000 reports are filed with us, from your statewide candidates to legislative candidates, county candidates like DA and sheriff, municipal candidates in cities of 75,000 or more, and then all mayoral candidates. We have about 250 political action committees they can give to you, $500 a year. We have super PACs, and we have local party committees, like the Westwood Democrats, the Westwood Republicans, who are organizing right now as we speak, I believe. All of these entities file with our office, and our auditors put their eyes on them. And if there's an issue, they'll send a letter. We also have a municipal auditor. She's a former city clerk out of Fall River, Carol Valcourt, you know her. And she travels around the state, and she takes a look at your campaign finance reports. So she might make a visit here at Westwood, take a look at your reports. What happens is she sees a problem, and she'll see problems here and there. She'll just send you a letter and say, hey, it looks like this needs to be clarified. You know, why did you do this? You answer the question, and we'll just keep moving on. All right? We do have a sign-in sheet. If you could sign that and pass that around, I'd appreciate it. So that's our audit team. We also have our legal department. If you have campaign finance questions, you can call us, and they'll answer your questions for you. And we have our IT team, the technical team. And they've created R6. Is anyone familiar with R6, that term? It's Reporter 6. It's our online filing system. It's for all the candidates who file with us, but it's also for you as well. If you send us your organizational form, or if you don't have an organizational form, you can just send us an unsigned organizational form. We'll set you up with R6. And you can go in there, or your treasurer can go into R6 and type in your information, hit print, sign it, and hand it into Dottie, and then you're done. It does all the math for you. It keeps track of all your donations and expenditures. It's a pretty good tool. And I'll just show you real quick. This is the front page of our website, OCPF.us. If you scroll down till you see the R6 icon, all the instructions for registering are right there. My email address is also right there, Jason Tate, jtate@CPF. So you can just send an email to me requesting R6 access, and I'll set you up. So that's all about OCPF. Just some important ground rules first, especially on the town level. This is very important, involving public employees, public buildings, and public resources. The campaign finance law and OCPF was set up in the 70s, but these rules go back to the first two anyway, go back to the 1800s, the late 1800s. And so we'll just go through a few of those rules right now. Public employees. First of all, who's a public employee? A public employee is someone who's employed by the state, county, or a municipality. So these are your school teachers, your firefighters, your police officers, someone in town who might work at UMass or a community college at night teaching a part-time class. These people, or maybe the county jail, these people are all public employees and they're prohibited from soliciting or receiving, directly or indirectly, for any political purpose. Any political purpose. That could even be a school teacher here in Westwood going to New Hampshire to raise money for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. These are all public employees and they're prohibited from soliciting or receiving. What does that mean? A solicitation can be verbal or written. A verbal solicitation would be maybe your cousin who works at the county jail. He might get on the phone and call up his friends and say, hey, Bob's fundraiser's Friday night, $25 a piece, hope to see you there. He'll be good for Westwood. And he makes those calls for you. That's prohibited. We don't see a lot of those. They probably happen. We know that they happen, but we don't get a lot of complaints for those. What we do see, though, are the written solicitations. Cousin Steve, who works at the DPW, might sit down at his Facebook page on Sunday watching the Patriots game, and he calls up the Facebook page. Let's go with spring training since your election's here in April. And he says, hey, my cousin Julie, she's running for selectman in town. Her fundraiser is Friday night. Hope to see you all there. It's $25 a head. There's going to be music. It'll be a great time. Hope to see you. Post it to Facebook. Well, someone who sees that and they know the rules, they might do a screen save and email it to Greg Byrne, our general counsel. He'll say, that's cut and dry. It's a public employee on Facebook. In the 1800s, obviously, they didn't know about Facebook, but the law is so rigid and direct that it applies directly to those sorts of written communications. Public employees shouldn't collect money or sell tickets to a fundraiser. If you're having a pancake supper, you wouldn't want your cousin who's a public employee to sell those tickets. Collecting money would be, well, here's an example. Down on the South Shore, a city councilor had an event at a restaurant. And as you know, you have to get the name and address of every donor, from $1 up to $1,000, which is the limit. Well, the line gets long, and people want to start hitting the bar, getting some food. So he said, hey, to his wife, can you please sit down and collect some money for us and get some names and addresses? No problem, I'll help out. She sits down. Well, someone recognizes her. She's a DPW worker in the next town over. That's prohibited. And so a complaint was filed, and it was in the local newspapers down there. Those are the sorts of things that can sort of trip up a campaign that you should be aware of as you're campaigning and holding fundraisers. A public employee shouldn't host a fundraiser. If someone in town is a public employee and they have a nice house, you wouldn't want them to host a fundraiser for you. May not help identify people to be targeted for fundraising. Your friend who's a teacher gives you the teacher list with all the call numbers on it. Say, they're all good for $25. You wouldn't want to do that. May not serve as treasurers of a political committee. So if you do have a political committee, your treasurer should not be a public employee. Elected officials are exempt. That's why someone like Charlie Baker can raise money. Are you elected? Yep. So Dottie, she could raise money because she's elected, even though she gets a paycheck. On the restrictions for public
They can
employees.
contribute, though, to like...
Yes, they can,
Okay.
which is the next slide.
Okay.
What can they do? Public employees do get involved with campaigns, obviously. School teachers, police officers, firefighters, they're all over campaigns. They can hold your signs on their own time. They can donate up to $1,000 to your campaign per year. They can go on Twitter or Facebook and they can say, please vote for Bob. He'll be great for Westwood. That's okay as long as they stay away from the money. And they can endorse candidates in ads, letters, and postcards, so long as there's no fundraising involved in those endorsements. If you do get endorsements from public employees, you may want to give the Ethics Commission a call. They're separate from us. They're on the 6th floor. We're on the 4th floor. Give them a call and just run it past them and just see to get their advice. Government buildings. The campaign finance law prohibits the solicitation or the receipt of campaign contributions in buildings used for governmental purposes. You're done with this meeting, you're leaving, someone catches you in the hallway, I can't make it to your fundraiser, but here's that $25 check I promised you, and tries to hand it to you here in the building, you'll have to refuse and say, sorry, we can't do it in the building, but meet me in the parking lot and you can give it to me there, which is legal. It's just the four walls of the building where money can't change hands. You can be on town property so long as you're not in the building when it happens. We don't really see a lot of that. What we do see are maybe the solicitations of campaign contributions in government buildings. Example, you're going to have your fundraiser and you're with your team and you guys are getting your invitations ready and you're like, hey, you know what, let's send an invitation to our state rep. If he or she shows up, maybe the local paper will show up and take some photographs. So you send it to the state rep, but the person who sends it, your cousin, doesn't know the rules and he sends it to the State House and it's opened up there at the State House by an aide who maybe doesn't want you to win. And so they report it to OCPF. That's a solicitation in a government building. Invitations should be sent to residential addresses. Emails. You might collect an email database that you can blast out emails to people. It's free. It's a great way to communicate with voters. Just scrub government email addresses off the list. Because if a solicitation or a political email goes into a government computer, that could be seen as a violation of the campaign finance law.
But you could send them an email saying, visit my website. As long as it wasn't a solicitation, you'd say, I'm running for office or no?
Technically, yes, but we would
Okay.
caution you from doing
Okay.
that because it will generate complaints.
Okay.
Even if there's no fundraising, they'll be like, hey, candidate X is telling me to do stuff. So just, scrub the government email addresses from your list. Any
Just
Any
government,
questions?
so if it's like a school, like if it's a teacher, so can't do that? Is
That would be
all
government as
under-
well,
it's all
yes.
under government?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's right.
just confirming that,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's right. No problem. I understand that some of the UMass,
.gov.
Right,
I'm sorry?
Anything with the .gov.
Yeah, .gov,
12 dot,
.umass.edu,
Yeah.
things
Town
like
hall.
that. Yep. Harvard.edu, that's okay, because it's a private school. Public records, you're probably not going to come across this. This is sort of a throwback to the older days when, a mayor might make the DPW drive around putting up his lawn signs. But public resources are prohibited for political campaign purposes. That includes phones, email, vehicles, copiers, paper, labor and employee time. What's that?
Billboards, there was that recent one where they had the stamp, I don't know if it was Governor Patrick, but he tried to take credit for doing certain things, so he was using government advertising dollars.
Oh, really?
They
Yeah.
fall under the same bundle.
Oh,
Not that that would apply.
public resources should not be used for advertising, for a campaign purpose. Where you might come across this at the candidate level, we see this mostly with the ballot questions. You want to build a high school, there has to be a ballot question, people get all fired up, and the superintendent might type up a flyer that says, vote yes on the high school. It's for our children's future, and puts it in the kids' backpacks. That's prohibited. But for your campaigns, you might see, someone who works at town hall here send out an email that says, make sure you vote for John. He's going to give us pay raises and use government resources for a campaign purpose. That's what we're looking at. The exception is equal access. The library, the senior center, these are all public resources. So can you use those for a political purpose? Can you get some donuts and coffee and go to the senior center and shake hands and pass out your literature? We say that's okay so long as equal access is granted to all sides. So if one candidate can do it, all of you can do it. Or if the building administrator so chooses, they can say, no one's doing that here at our place. And so as long as everyone's treated the same, we're okay with it. All right, we're going to get more into the meat of it here. This is the 101, the organizational form. So we recommend a committee, but it's not required. Only if you're putting yourself out as a committee, you have a treasurer, or you're a public employee, then you must have a committee. But the best practice is to have a committee. To form a committee, the 101 form is filled out, signed by the treasurer and the candidate. The candidate's usually the chairman, and it's handed in at the town clerk's office. Then you're organized. This is the same form that you'll send to me as well, with R6 only on the top if you want access to our online filing system. So this is the organizational form. I know the election's only next month, so many of you have probably already filed that. But if you need that form, it's easy to find on our website. You can even go to Google and type in M101 OCPF, and you should be able to find it.
that different than the one that's on the website now?
Yeah, that's, the one you have there is editable, which means you can type
But
into
this
it.
is okay.
Yeah, but that's okay, yeah. This is an older
Oh, okay.
image.
Okay.
An older
I'm sorry, I
image.
just have a quick question about that form. So on that form, on your committee, you can have a town employee, they just can't be your treasurer? Or you can't have them on your committee at all?
They can't be your treasurer, they can be your secretary.
Okay, so they can be on my committee, they just can't touch the money?
That's right. The law doesn't expressly prohibit them from being chairperson, but we recommend not making them chair, because if you're the chair and you're running a campaign, your hands are gonna be around the money, so
Gotcha.
you wouldn't wanna do that, but the law does prohibit them from being a
But
treasurer.
the candidate can be the chair as well.
That's right, that's what it usually is, yeah.
Okay.
The treasurer,
Chair and
it
treasurer.
was usually the spouse for the first campaign, and then they quit after a year or so. But it can be in the treasurer.
Define
and it's usually
quit.
the- Sometimes it goes that far.
Divorce.
So, report due dates. Your first report's going to be due 8 days before the election. Which I think Dottie might send you an email or a letter letting you know the reporting dates. 8 days before the election, but the end of the reporting period is 18 days prior. So 18 days before the election, the clock stops, and then you have 10 days to get your report together, sign it, and give to Dottie 8 days before. The next report you're going to file is a post-election report, and that's due 30 days after the election. The reporting period starts 17 days before the election and goes until 20 days afterward. So that covers the whole election period. Everybody files a campaign finance report, even if you raised and spent $0. Everybody who's on the ballot will file a campaign finance report, the pre-election and the post-election report. You can just file the normal campaign finance report. There is a form that if you don't have any money, you don't have a committee, you have no liabilities out there, bills owed, you can sign what's called a 102-0 form, and you can find that on our website as well. But you can also just fill out a regular M102 campaign form.
It's just the same one?
We always get a ton of questions about the year-end report. The year-end report is filed by all incumbents, anyone who holds office, whether they are on the ballot today or not.
Thank you.
Is there an issue with that? Oh, did it?
Yeah, so we're gonna just.
So to continue, if you're in office, everybody files the year-end report. Without exception.
Thank you.
If you're an incumbent, you file. If you were unsuccessful this election, but you still have money in your account, or maybe you were a candidate 3 or 4 years ago and you're just waiting for the opportune time to run, and you still have money in your account, you file the year-end. If you were unsuccessful this election, you zeroed out on your 30-day after report, you have no liabilities, you have a zero balance, then you can consider yourself done and you can just move on. And you didn't win. So if you win, you file the report. We get questions on that more than anything toward the end of the year. By the way, the year-end report is due on the 20th. Can you be fined for filing these late? It's possible. If a report is not filed on time, the local election official, Dottie, can send you what's called a 10-day notice, saying, hey, you have 10 days to file this thing, or we're going to refer it up to OCPF. After 10 days, if you haven't filed, then it can be referred to OCPF, then the $25 a day fines kick in. We've seen a lot more of that lately, the referrals anyway, from local clerks, because your reports are going online now. It's not like it used to be where your reports were filed on paper, stuck in a file, and people really didn't come look at them. They're going online now, and people are looking, and they're trying. And if they don't see it, they're complaining, they're calling us. So we're seeing a lot more sort of pressure to get these reports up and running. So just an FYI.
And can I just make a point, and generally, if your campaign has raised $1,000, is when we usually put them up. That's the
That's
threshold.
right. There is a threshold.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Depends
So
who's
this is
paying.
this is the summary page of what a campaign finance report looks like. The number is a CPF M102. And this is what the front page will look like if you print it out using our R6 software. the dates up here, 1/1 to 4/13, any activity that happened between those two dates, that's what shows up in this report. It has a starting balance, in this one it's $2,000, a summary of the receipts, a summary of expenditures, and an ending balance. If your ending balance is ever negative, that's a problem. It should never be negative. So if it's negative, try and figure out what you did. If you can't figure it out, give us a call. We could probably help you. It probably was because of an out-of-pocket expenditure that you may have made. So just give us a call. It also summarizes your liabilities, those are your bills owed, and your in-kind contributions. Raising money, here are some of the rules on raising money. Contributions of more than 50 must be itemized. Itemized means name and address. You should collect the name and address, or you must collect the name and address of every donor. So if someone just gives you a $5 bill at a fundraiser you're having, name and address should be taken by your treasurer or someone who's helping you or yourself, and you'll keep those records. So all cash contributions must be accounted for. You can take cash up to $50. I know on the local level that's popular. If you're having a hot dog fundraiser or something, people may give you cash. Just keep the name and address available. If someone only gives you $20 for the year, you're not required to disclose their name and address. But you can if you'd like. Over-disclosure is recommended. You can report all those small contributions in one lump sum on the campaign finance report. Contributions of more than 50 must be in the form of a check or credit card. By credit card, we mean if you use PayPal, which you see sometimes in the local level. But mostly it's in the form of a check. The exception to money order. So you can take up to 50 in cash, up to $100 in money orders, and then after that, personal check or credit card for $1,000. The limit is $1,000 from individuals. We don't see a lot of like these $2,000 checks that people might get on the local level, but if you do get one, a $2,000 check, and there are two names on the check, you can just assume it's being split. You report it as two separate contributions. PACs can give you up to $500 per year, political action committees. Any contribution of $200 or more, occupation and employer is required. So you want to get that information and put that in the report. And records must be kept for every dollar received. So raffles, prohibited. If you're trying to raise money through a raffle, not only is it difficult to get names and addresses of the people who give you the dollar, but the Attorney General's office prohibits political committees from having raffles. So that's one way of raising money that you would not be able to utilize. Any questions at all about raising money? Before we move to the next one?
Well, you know, you said that you don't have to itemize less than 50, but then you say records must be kept for every dollar received.
Yep. So itemized means actually on the campaign finance report disclosing to the public the name and address.
So you do have to get the name and address of everyone, even if they give you a $5 bill?
That's right.
Okay.
That way you have it in your records.
Okay.
When
Because
you-
I have that name and address for every donor, but then I was confused by that last
Yeah,
line
okay,
there.
good. Because Carol, if she comes in and she sees that you raised like $1,000 in cash, she might say, okay, just, can you show me your list of donors? And if you don't have them, those are anonymous contributions. We don't know where that money came from. So the regulation is all anonymous contributions must be purged. It's to charity.
I don't think they may be covered, sorry. Candidates can give as much as they want.
That's right. Candidates can put as much money as they want into their campaign. So I mean, if you think, it'll cost $1,000 to win the seat as a selectman, you can just throw your own $1,000 in there and just spend from that. Here's what it would look like, Schedule A of receipts.
Can I ask you a question about that? That's not a contribution, that's a loan.
It's a contribution and a loan.
Okay.
It can be a loan.
Because it
It's
can
a
be paid
contribution
back.
for sure. It may be a loan. Okay?
But it can be paid back
It can be paid back.
from the
That's right.
committee, okay.
That's right. So here they had an event at a restaurant at the Alamo, $650. They reported it as a lump sum. It was a small amount, but they kept the records. John, $25 small contributions can be itemized. That's just to show that if you want, you can itemize all your contributions. $200, this won't happen, but if someone gives you a $200 contribution and you don't know who they are, you don't know where they work, the law does require you to send a letter to them, say we need your occupation and employer. And if you sent that letter, you put that information right there. You'll know everybody. Howie Long, $1,000. He maxed out. That's his max for the year. He can't give again. His occupation employer is in there. Money orders, $100. You can take that. candidate loan, $1,000 that we were just talking about there. That's reported as a contribution, even though it's a candidate, it's still a contribution to the campaign. There are two of them there. And then a summary down below, right here. So that's what receipts will look like. No business contributions. If someone tries to give you a check from a corporation, an LLC, an LLP, a partnership, your red flag should go up. You can't take it. There's a strict prohibition on that, on taking of corporate contributions. We see that from time to time. People mistakenly deposit a business check. What we see though more often might be the use a corporation trying to give an in-kind contribution. For example, maybe your buddy owns, your friend owns an insurance company, and they have phones and computers and a copier, and they say, hey, you know what, at night, the week before the election, why don't you come here, and this can be campaign headquarters. You can use the phones, the computers, you can make copies. That's a corporation giving something of value to the campaign, and it should be paid for. The campaign has to pay for that, they just can't take it as an in-kind contribution. So any questions at all about corporations?
So you said they had to pay for it, but it could be a $5 charge, doesn't matter?
It would have to be market rate.
Okay.
So we
Thank
had
you.
a case like this once where someone's friend owned an oil company, and the oil company had the phones and that sort of thing. He said, okay, maybe call a hotel and find out how much it would be to have a conference room for a night. And then you did it for 3 nights, so multiply it by 3, that sort of thing.
Okay.
How we might resolve it. In-kind contributions. These are things of value that are not money. Like someone might give you, your uncle might have a thing of plywood, a stack of plywood. He says, you know what, let's cut them in half. We'll paint Vote for Joe on there, and we'll put them on the lawns of all our cousins. That's okay, but he gave you something of value and you need to report it. So call Home Depot and say, how much is a sheet of plywood? And that's what you would report. And it counts against the $1,000 limit for the year. So $300 in plywood, $700 in monetary contributions. There are 2 exceptions. Personal services and ordinary hospitality. A personal service would be someone who volunteers for your campaign. You want to build a website, it's $500 if you go to the local website company. But your nephew, he can put it together for you for free. And he does it for you. Do you have to report a $500 in-kind? We say no. As long as he does it on his personal time and volunteers, no reporting required. Ordinary hospitality is going to be those, those Saturday coffee hours where you show up to talk to a group of neighbors, 40 people there. They have, sandwiches and maybe some drinks. They spend $100 on this thing. Do you have to report that? We say no, you don't have to. It's just ordinary hospitality. If they had a party, they would spend that much anyway, feeding and giving people drinks.
But what if they posted something on Facebook like, hey, come to my house, we're going to have coffee and donuts? And, you still don't have to report that, that's
Yep, that
ordinary
still would be okay.
hospitality?
That's just ordinary hospitality, that's right. But if they have a caterer and a band and, people are showing up and, or whatever, that would be something the campaign would have to pay for. Or the person could give the first $1,000 in kind, and then the campaign would pay after that.
So as a candidate, if you make an out-of-pocket expense, you'd report that as in kind.
You would not. As a candidate, if you make an out-of-pocket expense, it would be, let's say you buy your lawn sign, you use your own personal debit card,
Yeah.
it's $500. You'd put a $500 contribution from yourself to the campaign on Schedule A, receipts. Then to balance your books and to disclose the expenditure, you put a $500 expenditure to the lawn sign company on Schedule B, expenditures. So it balances out, and then if you hope to get paid back someday, then you'd put it on liabilities as well, Schedule D. We call it ABD. If you use our R6 program,
Sounds like a baseball play, or ABD.
yeah, ABD. If you use our software, you don't have to do that. There's just on the expenditures tab, there's an out-of-pocket expenditures thing to fill out. So if you do use R6, it's a little bit different.
And Jason, what at that coffee here, taking donations?
It's okay so long as it's not a public employee's house, and you're not a public employee. These are the out-of-pocket expenditures we were just talking about. Where candidates, they can make out-of-pocket expenditures. Try to keep it to a minimum. Not that it's illegal. I mean, it's legal. You can do it. But in our experience, the auditors, when they find problems, it's usually because out-of-pocket expenditures are made and it's not reported correctly, and we have to unwind and untangle. if you know you're going to spend $1,000 out of pocket anyway, just put it in your campaign account and just spend it from there. That's the best practice. So spending money. You can spend money to enhance your political future so long as it's not primarily personal. So a candidate can make expenditures for lawn signs, advertisements, robocalls. They can go on Facebook and take out ads on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, those sorts of things. Obviously, those are to enhance your political future. What happens if someone spends a Saturday, you get all your friends together and they go around town handing out your literature, and then afterward you have a party and you can feed them using campaign funds if you would like. Personal expenditures, though, are prohibited. So you can't take the family to a Red Sox game. Your own personal family. People do stuff. People do stuff. The law is $50, reporting all expenditures of more than 50. But the best practice, what we say, is just disclose every expenditure. I mean, the receipts thing, we don't mind if you don't disclose the ones that are under 50, if you just lump sum them. But for expenditures, if you spend $40 to bring coffee and donuts to an old person's home, nursing home, you just report. You want to put that on there. Dunkin' Donuts, $40 to go to the nursing home to visit people. A reimbursement. If someone goes out and they spend money on your behalf, and they come back and say, hey, I spent $100 on this paper for the campaign, please reimburse me. You can reimburse them. You'd cut a check to that person. It would be reported as an expenditure to that person. Let's see if I have one. Oh, good. Joseph Murray, $400 reimbursement. How did he spend the money? There's a special reimbursement form. You'd fill it out and say he spent the money on this and that. And that's how those are reported. Try and be as detailed as possible. At Stacy's Lawn Sign Company, if you spend $400, try and put in there, 200 lawn signs, or if you buy T-shirts that say "Vote for Joe," instead of just putting T-shirts, that'll raise red flags. Like, why are they buying T-shirts? But 50 campaign T-shirts for volunteers, something like that. As much detail as possible.
So if you did, let's say, the lawn sign, I order the signs, I pay through my credit card, then I just need to keep the receipt.
Yep, keep all the receipts.
Yeah, and then I could check. They could write a check for me $400. Because a lot of these things you can use your credit card for.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of them will use your credit card. The receipts and all the paperwork and all that stuff, the law requires you to keep it for 6 years. Well, actually, December 31st, 6 years after the election. So in your case, in April, it'll be 6 years and many months. So hope you have
Store
a
them out at
box.
your house, Tony. I don't have any room.
Yeah, I'll just pop this up real quick. We tweeted out about that just recently. We have an OCPF Twitter account, OCPF Reports, if you're interested. But we just tweeted about that. We hope you have plenty of storage, because you have to keep it for 6 years until December 31st, 6 years after the election. And does anyone recognize that? The Indiana, that's where the Ark of the Covenant is hidden. So that's the expenditure Schedule B. This is the reimbursement page. So remember, with Joseph Murray, $400. He spent $200 on pizza for volunteers and $200 for copies at Staples. So that's reported on the reimbursements form. Liabilities, bills unpaid. You'll probably have all your bills paid, but really more importantly is the one question you were asking about. This is where the candidate loans go. So $1,000, $400, and these keep following you from report to report. So if you put $1,000 in this year and you're still in office 3 years from now and you haven't paid yourself back, it's still following you in every report. It's just going to keep being reported on the liability schedule. Resolving cases. The campaign finance law is a criminal statute, but you're not going to jail for this stuff. We already talked about the fine. So how do we resolve these things? It's usually through a public resolution letter. I'll just go to that page right now. This is ocpf.us, the front page of our website. I'm going to go to legal, and then agency actions. So most of our cases are resolved through what we call public resolution letters. These are letters that say, okay, your cousin sold 10 tickets to your pancake supper at $10 a piece. That's prohibited. You have purged that prohibited money to charity. You've been educated, let's move on. And that's how we resolve most of those cases. Those public resolution letters are listed all right here. We've had 4 so far this year. Let's see, Westwood. and they're listed throughout the years. They're posted. They're good for educational educational purposes. Sometimes you can read through and get some good information on that.
What was going on in Littleton?
Oh yeah. What was going on
I don't want to
there?
ask.
Yeah, what was going on? This is what they look like. So okay, yep.
There's a lot of words there.
Yeah, there are a lot of words. Looks like someone didn't fully report all their in-kind contributions. All right. So if it's a little more serious, and we might do what's called a disposition agreement. This is still off the books. It's informal. We're not going before a judge, and we are just trying to resolve a case. It sometimes comes with bigger payments, like $81,000, $10,000, $120,000. Paul Mahoney out of Cambridge, he didn't disclose. He paid $1,000. So there's some movement there with the amounts. Senator Joyce, he had to use his money for a graduation party for his son. So yep, just an FYI, yeah, you can't do that. A lot of these right here, just sort of as an FYI, we've closed a lot of cases recently where someone might give you $1,000. I don't know if it happens here at Westwood's level, but they want to give you more money, but the limit's $1,000, right? And so they take money and they give it to their cousins or their employees. Maybe they run a business and they have them give the money to you. That's disguising the true source of funds, and we're closing a lot of cases on that. Like Waste Services Company, the Worcester Law Firm, all these are those true sources cases. So, yeah, so those are the sorts of things. I doubt it happens here, but you want to be so if you get a bunch of checks from one company, you might want to just at least call and just say, I just want to be on the level here. These people gave of their own personal funds, right? And then finally, we can refer a case to the Attorney General for criminal charges. We have 3 of them here. Mike McLaughlin, he used the Chelsea Housing Authority as a campaign office to raise money and a lot of it cash to give to candidates of his choice. He ended up doing 6 months. Brian Wallace is a former state rep out of South Boston. He used campaign funds personally and also had a poor reporting history. He ended up on probation. And then John Bonomo, he was desperate for money personally, and so he stole more than $100,000 from his account. He ended up doing 2.5 years. And the reason why we point this out is not to scare you, but to show that we have 2,600 committees organized with us, and I don't know how many thousands of local campaigns across the state, and I can point to 3 where we went before a judge and people were sentenced. So we're not a gotcha agency. We really are out here to try and help you. And so please do just give us a call. In the last 5 minutes here, I'll just give you a quick demonstration of the electronic filing system. This is not something, you're not going to file electronically with us, but this is a tool that perhaps you could use if you want to invite people to a fundraiser or just sort of get an idea on how it works. Has anyone played around with our EFS at all? No one? So if I go here, if you just want to maybe just browse data, you go here to search campaign finance data. And you go there. And maybe you say, I just want to look up people from Westwood who maybe gave to Governor Baker because I have the same sort of views as Governor Baker. Maybe they'll give to me as well. So I can go here and I can choose a city or town, or just use the zip code, which is easier sometimes. What's the zip code here?
02090.
And then put in Baker. Filer there, Charlie Baker. And you know what? I only want to know the big number of people. So I'm going to say a minimum amount, $1,000. I haven't done this, so I don't know what's going to come up. All right, some people show up. And so you'll see people from Westwood who gave to Governor Baker at the $1,000 mark. And so these are some things that you can look for if you want to strategize. And there are lots of different ways. If you want, if you typed in attorney, only the attorneys would show up. It's just a tool that you can use for your campaigns.
Brother, that's a little creepy.
Yeah, I don't like that.
It's a little creepy. It's like Big Brother. I mean,
That's the whole purpose of the campaign finance law is public disclosure.
This just has state stuff though? This don't have
State and some municipal. It doesn't have local. Your campaign finance reports go online on your municipal website where people can look it up there.
because we're only getting there their name and address. Looks like, do you have more
Well, those were
information other
right
than name and
around-
address, or it was just name and address?
There were 1,000.
If it's over 200,
Oh,
yeah, if it's over 200, then occupation employer is also
That's
listed.
right, okay.
You ever read the stories where they say, Governor Patrick raised $50,000 from the insurance industry? That's because, Howie Carr is going on here and he's looking it up, under the occupation and employer. That's how that works. So there are a lot of tools on the website. You can go to our YouTube channel if you need. There are tutorials. Not that you want to go through this again. You just got your tutorial now, but there are YouTube, and we also do have our Twitter account that has helpful hints. If you put your email on the list that went around, we'll put you on our newsletter list. It only comes out 4 times a year, so you're not going to get bombarded. So you'll get it, and if you want to read it, you can. We usually have some tips and some information and stories on that. So that's the campaign finance seminar. Any final questions at all?
I got a real specific accounting question for you.
Okay.
So have you had if you get a PayPal donation, there's you don't actually get, if somebody donates $50, then you actually get 47 something because they take a percentage. How do you record that as a $50 donation and then an expense, or do you just
That's
take?
exactly what you do. So I'll just use 100. So if you get a $100 contribution and PayPal keeps 5, you still report the $100 contribution, and then on receipts, and then on expenditures, $5 to PayPal as an expenditure. If you get 10 of those, you can just group them together. PayPal, $77 or whatever the total might be. That's how it's reported. Same with I know Democrats use ActBlue. Republicans also have a vendor, internet vendor like that they can use if they'd like. Your local party committees, can you get involved with them? Yes, you can get involved with them. They can give you money. They can give you up to $1,000 per year, and it's even more effective. They can make unlimited in-kind contributions. So if you think you need that final mailer to be successful in your campaign, you can call up your local Republicans or Democrats and say, hey, any way you guys can pay for this mailer for me? And they can do it. You can communicate with them that way. You can coordinate, and then you just report it as an in-kind contribution, unlimited amounts. And your local party committees are getting much more involved in this sort of thing in the last 5 years or so. Any other questions? All right. Thanks for showing up.
Thank you.
Thank you.